Now at 11, a school parking lot being used for some dangerous stunt driving. The video you'll only see on 6, and the call to action from concerned neighbors. A somber Sunday gathering. Friends and family remember a man killed in what police say was a home invasion robbery. And thousands of Indiana workers remain on strike, and there's word tonight of a possible setback. The latest on the negotiations with GM.
This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
RTV6 is working for you tonight with a call to action. Good evening and thanks for joining us here at 11. I'm Nicole Griffin. Somebody is using a Southside Elementary School parking lot as their own personal drag strip. Only on RTV6, Graham Hunter has the video you have to see, and he's talking to neighbors who say it's an ongoing problem with a simple solution.
I heard squealing tires, and it just continued and continued.
This video you're watching might look like it came from the local racetrack.
So I went to my patio door.
But it happened right behind a Perry Township woman's home.
Saw this white car and a black car doing circles in the school parking lot.
The back lot of Rosa Parks Elementary School.
And it sounded like there were people cheering.
The woman we spoke to asked not to be identified out of concern the drivers might retaliate. She says it's not the first time this has happened.
7 or 8 times during the summer that I've actually looked out.
The parking lot is just feet away from the backyards of several homes, including hers.
My main concern is my grandchildren.
We saw kids playing all around the neighborhood and in the parking lot and on the playground at the school.
There's children that ride skateboards and their bicycles after hours, and that seems like when they start to do their drag racing, they go in sharp circles, so it's continuous squealing.
You can still see the skid marks left behind by the drivers.
I would think that the school officials would be concerned about them losing control and running into the school building.
There is a gate at the entrance to the parking lot that neighbors tell us is usually left open.
It looks to appear that there is a gate that they could put down where it keeps cars from going in there, and it would certainly reduce the risk, I think.
Working for you in Perry Township, Graham Hunter, RTV6.
All right, Graham, thank you. New at 11, family and friends came together to remember a man killed this weekend in a home invasion robbery. Family members confirmed with RTV6 Michael Zenick was the victim who was shot and killed on Edgemont Avenue. It happened just after midnight Saturday. At tonight's vigil, there were posters with Zenick's pictures with written messages, one saying, "R.I.P. Dad, there is nothing in this world that can explain how I feel." Police have not released much information about this case. If you know who shot Zenick, contact Crime Stoppers at 317-262-TIPS. Let's get to check your Storm Team 6 forecast with meteorologist Kyle Mounds.
Yeah, Nicole, things are starting to dry out a little bit, but this may be temporary here. Storm Team 6 radar showing a few light returns here around Richmond, Connersville, and Liberty. And we've also had some very light rain developing once again, moving through the downtown area. Mist to some very light rain stretching along 65 here through Greenwood as well, back into portions of Morgan County. And you can see that next band of some showers there moving in from the northwest. Things again are fairly quiet, but TrueCast actually continues to indicate that we're going to see some more of that rain filling in, especially central and southern areas here as we go through the overnight and lingering into tomorrow morning's drive. I think you'll be dry around Kokomo, Lafayette, but Indianapolis off to the south and east, we will have a little bit of light rain that you'll need to factor in to your morning drive. Right now, our temperature sitting in the upper 50s in downtown. There's a little bit of that report of light rain. 58 in Kokomo, upper 50s, mostly cloudy in Bloomington. By tomorrow morning, temperatures into the lower 50s with mostly cloudy skies. A few of those showers mainly for southeastern areas. We'll take you hour by hour through your Monday in a few minutes.
Kyle, thank you. New information into the newsroom tonight about a deadly plane crash near Kokomo. We now know the name of the pilot who died in the crash. The Howard County coroner confirms Dr. Daniel Greenwald of Tampa, Florida was the pilot. The crash happened around 5 o'clock Saturday at the corner of State Road 22 and County Road 300 East. Greenwald was flying a twin-engine plane that crashed into a soybean field. The FAA and NTSB are now investigating to determine why the plane went down. The White House is responding tonight to the news ABC broke this morning that there is now a second whistleblower alleging presidential wrongdoing. Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham says no matter how many whistleblowers come forward, it doesn't change the fact that the president, quote, has done nothing wrong. Here's ABC's Rachel Scott with all the details.
Breaking news this morning in the battle over impeachment.
ABC News has learned that the legal team representing the first whistleblower is now representing a second whistleblower.
Their attorney telling us that second person is described as an intelligence official with first-hand information of some of the allegations outlined in the original whistleblower complaint, and that the person has been interviewed by the Inspector General.
The evidence of wrongdoing by Donald Trump is hiding in plain sight.
It was the first whistleblower's complaint that triggered the impeachment investigation. It alleged President Trump abused his power by repeatedly urging the leader of Ukraine on a phone call to investigate his potential 2020 rival Joe Biden and his son. Just last week, the president also called on China to investigate the Bidens.
You really think he was serious about thinking that China's going to investigate the Biden family?
He said it right there in public. Why can't you answer yes or no? Do you think it's appropriate?
I don't, because I don't think that's what he did.
Republican Senator Susan Collins joining a small group of Republicans publicly condemning the president, calling the president's request to China completely inappropriate, but not commenting on the Ukraine phone call.
I don't want to prejudge the evidence. Plus, not all the evidence is in yet.
The president laser focused on Biden and his son Hunter, who had overseas business dealings, while his father helped carry out the Obama administration's foreign policy as vice president. Biden penning an op-ed in the Washington Post saying the president slanders anyone he sees as a threat.
It's only a benefit for Joe Biden to stand up in a forthright, very energetic way and take the fight directly to Donald Trump day in and day out.
There has been no finding of wrongdoing by either Joe Biden or his son. Rachel Scott, ABC News, Washington.
Rachel, thank you. Talks between the United Auto Workers Union and General Motors have taken a turn for the worse. That's according to the union's chief negotiator, who now says there's no immediate end in sight for the auto industry's longest strike in decades. The setback in talks comes after several days of reported progress between the two sides as they work to reach a new 4-year deal. More than 49,000 GM workers have been picketing across the country for the last 21 days. That includes almost 7,000 in Indiana at plants in Fort Wayne, Kokomo, and Bedford. Tonight, 3 families are dealing with damage to their homes after a fire overnight that was likely caused by lightning. Indianapolis firefighters responded just after 3:30 this morning to Mallard Glen Court in a neighborhood near Southeastern Avenue and Thompson Road. A 71-year-old man was asleep when he was alerted by his home alarm system of the fire. He was able to get out safely and saw the fire coming from his roof. An Uber driver who just dropped off a customer then saw the flames spreading to one of the neighbors' homes and knocked on the door until they woke up. One firefighter was injured fighting the fire due to possible heat exhaustion. The fire remains under investigation. Coming up, a cruel twist of fate. His friend shot and killed by mistake. Days after testifying in the murder trial, he himself is gunned down. Church is the place to go when you're seeking comfort from a higher power. But today, one local church threw open its doors, praising the virtues of solar power. The details when we come back. Kyle.
And our temperatures are going to be warming up the next couple of days, but we're approaching that first average freeze date and frost date across central Indiana, and we do have the potential for some frost in the 7-day planning forecast. To look at that, you're watching RTV6 News at 11.
Morning Indiana. See what's new October 16th. This is RTV6 News at 11, working for you.
The Dallas police chief issued a statement late this evening saying there are no suspects or motives at this time in the murder of Joshua Brown, a key witness in the recent trial of former police officer Amber Geiger. But authorities vow they will work to ensure a transparent and thorough investigation of the murder. Here's ABC's Kaylee Hartung.
Police in Dallas searching for the gunman who killed a key witness in the murder trial of former Dallas police officer Amber Geiger.
Be advised, it does look like we have one on the ground.
Joshua Brown gunned down in this Dallas parking lot.
It looks like it was a silver sedan that looked like it was fleeing from the location.
Brown lived across the hall from Botham Jean, the 26-year-old accountant murdered by Geiger in his apartment. The former officer saying she thought Jean was an intruder. A key witness for the prosecution during Geiger's trial.
Mr. Brown, please have a seat.
Getting emotional on the stand as he remembered his neighbor.
Do you recall ever hearing someone say, "Hey, put your hands up," at a loud tone?
No, ma'am.
Or, "Show me your hands"?
No, ma'am.
Late Friday night, Dallas police were called to Brown's new apartment complex, about 5 miles from where Jean was murdered.
One shot and then a double tap after that. And that was it. Looked outside and we actually saw the victim right there laying down. That was it.
Lee Merritt, an attorney for the family of Botham Jean, described Brown as a young man courageous in the courtroom, but says he lived in constant fear he'd be the next victim of gun violence. Kaylee Hartung, ABC News, New York.
Kaylee, thank you. Community leaders and members on the Far East Side are focusing on reshaping the narrative on how people view their community. Their ultimate goal is to create a safer space for kids and bring life back into the community that has been impacted by violence. After a year of planning, a ribbon cutting marks the opening of the Capital City Green Space at 42nd and Post Road. Capital City Church of Christ received a community green space grant from Keep Indianapolis Beautiful. It's a project that started last year in collaboration with the Ross Foundation and the Indiana Historical Society. Sheila Sexton volunteered and donated manpower to build the design for the green space in just 2 days. Now the vision for 42nd and Post is being brought to light. Next up, they plan to create a mural that should be completed by this spring. And as part of the ongoing effort to improve the Far East Side, dozens were out cleaning up the area of 42nd and Post Road this weekend. It's part of a monthly cleanup effort organized by Darius Ross from the Ross Foundation. They've been focusing on making the area look better for the last 3 years. Ross says by cleaning up trash, it helps improve morale, environmental stress, and ultimately reduces violence. Midwest Fest, a local business that hosts car shows on the Far East Side, was out giving back as well. Ross says it's amazing to see different groups from different backgrounds support the cleanup efforts because he says it takes a village to make a difference. This weekend, people in Indianapolis had the opportunity to learn more about solar power. The goal to get them interested in putting solar panels on their home, business, or even church. The Unitarian Universalist Church of Indianapolis is taking part in a national solar tour. Today, church members held an open house. People there were able to see the solar panels that they are currently using up close, find out how they work, and learn why the church made the decision to go solar. Right now, 4 of the church's 5 buildings are connected to solar panels.
The ones that the solar panels are supplying, our bill was $40, which is the standard rate for this church to hook up to the electric grid. It proves to me that it's a good idea for one thing, and I know that my church is like, I think almost all congregations can always use some more money, and we can use that money that we would have been sending to the electric company to do service projects or other projects that we would do as a normal church.
They say that $40 bill is compared to $188 for the 5th building for standard electricity per month. The church did have to raise $75,000 to get the solar panels. They are now part of the Indiana Indy Green congregation, which helped found Hoosier Faith Power that helped get solar panels at 50 congregations across the state. People celebrated the return of fall in the outfield where the Indianapolis Indians play over at Victory Field today. The ball field was transformed into Rowdy's Pumpkin Patch. Kids 14 and under were able to run around the outfield and pick up their favorite pumpkin to take home for free. They also got the chance to ride on a hayride, jump in a bounce house, or meet Rowdy, who was dressed up as a scarecrow. Organizers say it's a chance for families to experience Victory Field in a way they never have before.
We've came to several games this year. They love it. They're having a great time.
The fact that we can provide families this type of experience means a lot to us. It also gives us a cool use of the ballpark in a time of the year where we don't typically play games, but the ballpark is still as beautiful as ever. So it's really special to us to be able to provide that kind of experience for families.
The Indians focus on putting families first, and they say events like this show their commitment to the community. In that video there, Kyle, you saw it was a little dark, which is kind of how I felt like most of the day was today.
We had a little bit of rain. It wasn't quite as bright as our Saturday, but the sun is going to return pretty full force as we go into the day tomorrow. We still have a little bit of rain, but looking beautiful in downtown right now on Monument Circle. We've got all the lights and 59 degrees. Humidity at 96% right now. That wind is very light, less than 5 miles per hour. And as we look around central Indiana, we find those temperatures generally in the 50s. Muncie, you're the mild spot right now at 61. It's 58 in Greencastle. Storm Team 6 radar and the satellite. Yeah, we got a lot of cloud cover out there still tonight, but you can see a few of these very light showers which have been developing and sliding through much of Marion County right now into portions of Hancock County and moving toward Anderson, also around the Fishers area. We've got a couple of light rain returns now moving south and east of Richmond through Liberty, and as we work our way back to the west, Vetersburg along I-74 there between Crawfordsville and Lafayette. Some very light rain. Do expect this to fill in a little bit more though as we go through the overnight hours here. You can really see that's going to be over the southeastern half of the state, areas that saw a little more of that rainfall throughout the day today. As we go into 8 a.m. on our Monday morning, most areas are going to be dry. Still a few of those showers, Seymour through Columbus, Greensburg, into Rushville, Richmond, and even around Muncie, a few of those showers. But look at how quickly the clearing line is going to come in here, and we will have sunshine by 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon area-wide. So as we take you hour by hour through your Monday, temperatures will be stalled in the 50s through mid-morning because of quite a bit of cloud cover around, but then we'll make our way into the 60s, close to 70 degrees tomorrow afternoon. 70 for you in Kokomo, 71 in Anderson, average highs in the upper 60s, so we're right about where we should be. 70 in Newcastle and 72 there in Park County and Rockville, and lower 70s in Seymour, Spencer at 72. So everyone's going to be in the same ballpark here as we go to the high temperatures. But there's a little bit of a warming trend as the week progresses here, and it's going to be fairly dry as well. Temperatures specifically on Tuesday going to get into the lower 70s with that sunshine, 75 on Wednesday. But then things change by the end of the 7-day forecast. The mild air is out of here, and actually some of the coolest air that we have had in quite some time will be moving in. The 7-day planning forecast, as we put it all together, there are those highs climbing through the 70s, close to 80 degrees by Thursday and Friday. Friday's the next chance for some showers and storms, I think mainly in the evening. 57, though, will be the high on Saturday. And there it is, Sunday morning in the 30s. Some patchy frost possible a week from today.
I feel like a lot of people probably got their fall clothes out this weekend, and then looking at those temps, it's like,
Don't put the shorts away just yet, but you're going to need that jacket next weekend, too.
All right, Kyle,
Okay.
Thank you. There's a group of women who are the most vulnerable to crimes like sexual assault. So why isn't more being done to help them? A new documentary digs into that troubling issue.
5 years.
More than half of American Indian and Alaska Native women have experienced sexual violence in their lifetimes. But an investigation by our sister company, Newsy, uncovers how race, politics, and the law have prevented the group most likely to be raped in America from finding justice. Here's Newsy's producer, Marin Mackles.
A national conversation about sexual assault has taken over the country, but the racial group most likely to be raped in the U.S. hasn't been a part of the discussion.
Native women have told me that what you do when you raise a daughter in this environment is you prepare her for what to do when she's raped, not if, but when.
I was a victim when I was 13, a victim when I was 14, and a victim when I was 34.
These survivors face unique challenges when they seek justice on tribal lands.
I don't have so much hurt now as opposed to anger.
When we think about sexual assault in the United States, it's sort of a linear understanding of how the justice system works. When we move that same crime into Indian country, onto a reservation, and you add all these extra pieces to it, where you have the federal government, tribal government, maybe even the state government, it becomes much more complex. It makes that conviction even more difficult to attain. If one agency drops the ball, the whole house of cards falls.
A Newsy investigation has found sexual predators often receive minimal or no punishment, and survivors are left with little justice. Year after year, the federal government fails to adequately fund and staff tribal justice systems, even though they are legally required to do so. And federal restrictions on most tribal courts have limited the maximum sentence for any crime, including rape, to 1 year.
Why are we different than every other person? Why don't we have the justice everybody else does?
Stream the full documentary, A Broken Trust, starting Monday, October 7th on Roku and Amazon Fire.
If you don't have Roku or Amazon Fire, do not worry. Newsy's full investigation can be found wherever you stream content. And again, that happens tomorrow. Is Earth the final frontier for trash from outer space? Coming up, the impact debris from far and beyond can have on something as basic as your cell phone.
Visit IndianaLatinoExpo.org.
Here on Earth, we generate about 230 million tons of trash every year, but we're not the only ones accumulating trash. Space is too. One company tells Andy Taylor how this trash could cause problems with our cell phone service and how new technology could help.
Since the 1950s, we've been launching spacecrafts and satellites into space.
Right now, there's 8,100 payloads, or pieces that have been launched into space since the beginning of the space age, that are currently up there.
From old satellites to broken pieces off a rocket, space trash is an emerging problem.
Some of that debris will take 100 years to come down.
That's Bruce Davis, and his team at Rocore designed new technology to help collect and bring down the leftover trash floating in space. Bruce says what goes up doesn't necessarily mean it comes down. Here's how their technology works. It's attached to a satellite before it gets launched. After it's up in space for the allotted time it was supposed to be, a timer goes off, deploying the long metal sheet. This helps drag down the space trash to the Earth's atmosphere.
The re-entry is so fierce that it just completely melts and vaporizes before it hits the ground.
If we allow space trash to accumulate, well, future satellites used for cell service or cable and internet could potentially collide with leftover junk, destroying the satellite and ultimately affecting your services. Bruce says to think of space trash collecting as the beginning of air travel.
But it wasn't until it became a dependable form of travel for the whole world did we need something like the FAA to regulate where those airplanes are and make sure that collisions weren't occurring, that everything was happening safely.
Right now, there is no government mandate to put the Rocore device on new satellites. It's currently Good Samaritans opting to help out in the future efforts to keep space clean. I'm Annie Taylor reporting.
All right, Annie, thank you. Surveillance video catches a cheeky thief in action at a music store in Janesville, Wisconsin. He stuffed a massive flute down his pants, and you can clearly see the flute running up his back. The store owner says he noticed the man wandering around the store, scoping out various instruments before settling on the flute. At first, the crook tried to carry it out by hand, and then he decided to do a stuff and run. But the store owner's mother confronted the would-be thief before he could walk out the door.
Oh, I've got a flute. That's where I keep my flutes. And so she pulled it right out of his pants and said, oh, you keep your flutes with our tag on it in the back of your pants?
Oh, man. Well, the man got away empty-handed, but the store owner now had what he calls a tainted flute on his hand, so he got the bright idea of turning the instrument into a decorative lamp. Okay.
You know, that makes me think of the lamp from Christmas Story.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
That season's coming up, isn't it? All right, well, may have a few showers out there first thing in the morning, but things will improve pretty quickly as we go into the afternoon. Sunny skies and highs around 70.
All right, thank you. Have a great night.